Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Outsiders. I'm Jerome with you guys. Another solo. This pretty much I would say is a quick question. Before going into the episode and probably what the question or thought of the day is, I would just like to say coming up probably next week or whenever I have the time to digest it, I might speak on the Kendrick Lamar album. I'm not sure if it's an album as yet. The GNX. I have been listening. I've listened to it twice now. I do. It's interesting to see the personality that is coming out within that album and who Kendrick has been projecting himself as for the past, well, since 2020. Probably more than that. But since Mr. Morales and Big Step, I guess that's what I would say. But no, all in all, I think you guys should look forward to that. That might be a good episode. However, unfortunately for you guys, that will not be the episode of this week and or this time because I might try to do 2 episodes a week depending on how it works out. But this one is, I guess it was related to Kendrick, listening to his album, and also a video I saw sometime this week with Ta-Nehisi Coates speaking to someone about the issue of becausing, and I think sometimes it made me think two things. Is it that we will always to have conflict is to be human, or to be human is to have conflict? And that's the question that I thought to myself, because using the word because he was speaking to this interviewer and was stating to him that one of the problem that he has is that, or what he tries to stay away from, is the theory of becausing, which he addressed to be whenever something, say for example, something is wrong, trying to justify it or stating the because. And mind you, I might be butchering the full context of it because it's not something black or white. It does have tones, but imagine something like slavery. I think he used that as an example, or I can't remember which instant did he use exactly, but it was speaking from the perspective that if you will sit and say, let me think about an example for myself just to be safe. And this is from my understanding of it. If you were to sit and think to yourself, these group guys you're all friends with, they're cool with you, that's how it works. You guys are all good. And you found out that one is gay, right? And he likes the same sex. Now, if you were against it, you would probably stop hanging out with them, right? If you're not, or you'll state that, yeah, it's all right. If he's doing what he's doing, I think he's has the rights to be happy, has the right to live freely, then that's your stance, right? That's what it would come across as. However, say one day that friend of yours walking and a group of men or hooligans choose to attack this person, would your viewpoint on these things change? Would it become, say, they attack this person because he's gay, or because, yeah, exactly, I'm using the word. So, because he's gay, you'll be like, yeah, I have no problem with him being gay, but I couldn't defend him because he was doing something quote unquote gay in public, like holding his partner's hand or giving a kiss to someone. Now, does that actually make you someone who is for gay rights, or will always justify a conflict? So that is what kind of came into my mind. It's like, how does these systems that we live under, which, could be, I don't know, things within history, with race, how they treated us, how because of slavery, because of even say in the US, how they built the system led to wealth disparities. No, someone can say, hey, I'm against slavery. But because I don't know, you don't you don't read enough. This is why. Then that person is not against it. And it kind of pointed out to me sometimes where someone or maybe people don't necessarily stand on something, and I was telling myself around this time that I should think about something when I stand on something, because being understanding is one thing, that part is easy. um you can look at both sides. You see, this is delving into some topics that I'm not quite, I would say, a professional at, but even Russia and Ukraine war, let's go there, because I don't necessarily want to touch into the one that I would say quotes speak on to some extent, well, more than I do. With Russia and Ukraine war, I remember having conversations with a friend once, with some friends actually. And the thing is that they took a stance. No, none of them are Russian, none of them are Ukrainian, none of them have any ties to any of these, um, I would say, countries or people per se. However, they they took a stance and they were like, yeah, Putin, he's Russia is not right for doing what they're doing. you know, I remember saying to myself, yeah, I get it. But if the European Union did not say, hey, we're accepting the application, or they were willing to listen to Ukraine's interest in joining the EU, then he wouldn't have to do it, and it's like he told them that and it's like, bruh, so do you believe that Russia has the right to start a war? And if you don't believe in wars, which I don't, or yeah, exactly, I don't, then my stance should just be, yeah, no war. And that's it. That's the end of the story. Every single time. 99% of the time. So that's something that kind of hit me. And I mean, I'm not as educated or well spoken or well analytic sometimes with probably my thoughts. And that's the reason why I like doing this podcast, because it's almost like a journal for me too, into getting to understanding myself and my, what would you call it now, my reasonings behind things. Why do I think of this thing? Why do I understand it this way? It's not about it being right. It's not about it being wrong. It's being justified within yourself, where you can see, all right, this makes sense for me, you know. So we're here, I'm with the stance. But even further to speak on that conversation or that thought is it is conflict a natural aspect of the human race, where we all have to have some tension with someone. I think, following that, the Daily Show, Jon Stewart, spoke with him, and I spoke with Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I remember he was saying to him, like, the thing is, like, even if we were supposed to solve um, religious tensions between countries and cultures, there will still be something to fight about. And it's unfortunate because there were tests being done that basically they had a group of people with brown hair and blonde hair, right? And I think the persons with brown hair were given like some kind of prize. And that made the persons with blonde hair more submissive naturally. And then with that power, the persons with brown hair became more abusive of their power. You know, now think about that. That has nothing to do with race. That has nothing to do with religion, politics. None of that. That's something you were just born with, and you have to think about it. What is it that human beings like? Human beings sometimes dislike the other without reason. As simple as it is, it happens. It happens because of also assumed qualities. You know, I can go as basic as someone seeing someone nose and saying that's a Jew, and therefore they think this specific thing about a Jew. You know, it for me it's fascinating. It's fascinating that when he said it, I was like, is conflict always going to be a part of how we're built, of how our race moves, how people address each other, how we think about each other? It goes into sex wars. We have that so much too, where a man can do this, a woman can do this, but then you have the reverse views. If I hold the door for a woman, is that me saying that, she's not an equal? And then what if it's something that is been built in me that I I've learned from my days of the Boy Scout how to address a woman or a female or an older woman or a pregnant woman, an older person in general, So it's like then in our society, because it's now quote unquote a bit twisted with how equality is viewed. So that is something now to start some kind of beef between people. Ah, so it's like, is it that we'll ever get peace? And is it that we have to sit and choose our community and what we stand on? Because you can't be at peace with everyone. So what do you do? You know, how do we connect the history of things that happened in the past and not allow it to affect things that can happen from current events or in future events? It's pretty sad, and then you have things like even education inequalities or access to proper housing because of how race is built and how society will see some things from certain races, or the even people who quote unquote support it, they do have the NIMS, not in my backyard, persons who stand on the fact that, you know, yeah, I am for, I'll vote for affordable housing, but it does do these people have to live this close to me? You know what I mean? And it's like when I think it's no span outside of, you know, physical, it will just always be something. They will always have it be something that's that has a capability to be judged or viewed as these are the type of people that does this, and this is what these type of people do. Unfortunate. Unfortunate that we live in a time that we go through these things. And the fact that we can't even accept what's black, what's white, what's gray. It even happened in the US election recently with how, you know, I remember I listened to Brilliant Idiots and I know, as in, more or less, they made it clear. I think Andrew Schultz stated that he voted for Trump for his reasons, and Charlemagne voted for Kamala for his reasons. But between them, they have the podcast every week and they seem to actually be friends. No, that is just literally one speck in the petri dish. Because outside of that, it seems like most people, and like some people, yeah, they don't talk to their friends anymore, they don't talk to their family anymore. They broke up with someone because of who they chose to vote for, which is politics, which is one small aspect. And I can understand that there are policies that lies within these politicians and what they share. But does that quote unquote make a person? And when I say make a person, does it change who you've found yourself valuing? I'm not sure. I don't know if it does that for me. I'm not sure if when you can have a dialogue with someone and go through why, the reasons, and do it openly, not going into it with preconceived opinions, because I'm sure, sometimes they say, yeah, it's the rednecks or whatever, but they're educated people who voted for Trump, and they're probably rednecks who voted for Kamala. So it's like people choose to jump on certain bandwagon, but then they also choose to dislike the people because of the reason why they wouldn't choose the person. I just don't understand how that's fair. I think yeah, that needs to be tweaked into a position where everyone's accepting of everyone and understand that within this time, this way of living, the life that we currently have, it's not to separate. Or is it? Is it to separate? Is that the reason why we always have conflict? Is it that no culture, no people can live, the world cannot live in unison? Because I mean, even if you read the Bible, this has been happening from every perspective. Sorry about that. So, I mean, yeah, how do we progress past that? Do we want to progress past that? Do we want it to be something where, people think, quote unquote, black people can't swim because we have a different bone structure? Hmm? That's, yeah. Just think about that. Mm-mm. That cannot be right. That cannot be progressive. That cannot be allowing for growth. And people are, I mean, I think the world is changing, and there are things that have changed, and there are things that have progressed over time. When you look back and you be like, yeah, but then is that the because that I'd be like, yeah, but we've grown so much, like, is it that someone's like, yeah, but you shouldn't want that, no, because, and it's like, why are you justifying? It just still shouldn't be that. You just still shouldn't be built that way, you know. So almost full circle, but I think for some time I will be looking into the because, and I'll be looking into the conversations and the reasons why, like even women's right to vote, or you know, the right for them to do what they want with their body. It's like, yeah, look at that. You guys had the time. You guys had that to deal with, and it's like, you can't put a because. You think you either want the women to have the choice to do what they want with their body, or you don't really. And this is one of those things that it's not necessarily gray. It has to be black or white. You can't say because if you don't stand with what you're stating. I hope I was clear. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I made you think of something. I hope to be human is not to have conflict. I hope you guys were entertained in some way. And yeah, hopefully next week I'll do the Kendrick episode and speak about the GNX album. And after that, I guess I'll see you guys on the next episode of The Outsiders. I'm Jerome. Thank you for listening. Peace.